Hello students, now we want to look at how to calculate median, quartiles, percentile and decile by formula. So if you want to calculate median, Q2 is used to represent the median. So that is equal to L plus N over 2 minus FC over FM times C. So where your L represents the lower boundary of the class containing the median, N represents total frequency of the distribution, FC cumulative frequency before the median class frequency, then FM frequency of the class interval containing the median or frequency of the median class, then C, that is class width. Now if you are told to find the first quartile, you use Q1 to represent first quartile, which is L plus N over 4 minus FC over FM times C. So where your L represents the lower boundary of the class containing the first quartile, your FC represents cumulative frequency before the first quartile frequency. Then now to calculate the third quartile, that is Q3, is what? L plus 3N over 4 minus FC over FM times C. So your L represents lower boundary of the class containing the third quartile. Then we having FC cumulative frequency before the third quartile frequency. Then your FM frequency of the class interval containing the third quartile. Frequency of the class interval containing the third quartile. Now we want to move on to, if we want to look for the 60th percentile. Now percentile is the expression in terms of 100. So instead of 60th percentile, you can have other values here, like you can have 70th percentile, 10th percentile, 20th percentile, like that. So what it will all follow the same format. L plus, then you now tell us the percentile you are putting here. This one is 60th percentile, that is 60N over 100 minus your FC over FM times C. So where your L represents the lower class boundary of the class containing the 68th percentile, your FC represents cumulative frequency table 60th percentile frequency. The cumulative frequency before 60th percentile frequency. So you look for the cumulative frequency before the 60th percentile frequency. Then your FM frequency of class interval containing the 68th percentile. Frequency of class interval containing the 68th percentile. So if you are looking for fourth decile is division in 10. So which is L plus 4N over 10 minus FC over FM times C. Now where this L represents the lower class boundary of the class boundary, the lower class boundary of the class containing the fourth decile. Then FC means cumulative frequency before fourth decile. The cumulative frequency before fourth decile. Then FM is frequency of class interval containing the fourth decile. Frequency of the class interval containing the fourth decile. Now let's apply what we have just learned from the formula. The table below gives the distribution of marks of 100 candidates in a mathematics examination. So those that score between 11 to 20, they are 10. 14 score between 21 to 30. 17 score between 17 to 40. 22 score between 41 to 50. 19 score between 51 to 60. 9 score between 61 to 70. And 9 score between 71 to 80. Use your table to find by formula: A, the median; B, semi-interquartile range; C, 68th percentile; D, 4th decile. Now we are now going to be looking at it one after the other. So first of all, we need to draw our table. In the table, we need the column for the marks, the frequency, then we get the class boundaries, and we need to know the cumulative frequency. So these are the marks. This information has been given already: 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60, 61 to 70, 71 to 80. Then their various frequency had been given, which is 10, 14, 17, 22, 19, 9 and 9. Everything add up to 100. So also you need to know the class boundary, like we did the other time. Subtract 0.5 from the lower class here and add 0.5 to this one, which is 0. So then subtract 0.5 from 11, we having 10.5. 11 minus 0.5 is 10.5. Then 20 plus 0.5 will give us what? 20 plus 0.5 will give us 0.5. Then here also subtract 0.5, you get what? 20.5 to 30 plus 0.5 is 30.5. So you subtract from the front and add to the one at the back to be able to get the class boundaries. Now we need to get the frequency, the cumulative frequency. These are the frequency. To get the cumulative frequency, the first one is 10. Between this 10 plus this 4 will give us 24. Then we have 24 plus 17 is 51. 51 plus 41 rather. 24 plus 17 is 41. 41 plus 22 is 63. 63 plus 19 is 82. 82 plus 9 is what? 19. Then 82 plus 9 is 91. 91 plus 9 will give us 100. So when you add everything under the frequency, give us 100. So we want to start with the median. Median says that Q2 is equal to L plus N over 2 minus FC over FM, everything multiplied by the class width. So now from the table we are going to get all the parameters we needed for calculation. L, from the formula I gave you earlier, I said the L is what? The lower boundary of the class containing the median. Lower boundary of the class containing the median. So how are we going to know the class containing the median? What you do is this. So now this N over 2. So you just say N represents 100. 100 divided by 2 will give us what? 50. So now by the time you look at the cumulative frequency, this is 24, not up to 50, and 41 is not up to 50. Then this is 63. 63 is more than 50. It means that this the median is going to be in this group. So you can get that means the median is going to be in this group. So the lower class boundary of this class will now be what? 40.5. So that is what you write. So L is equal to 40.5. So now let us move on. We are going to know the value for our N. Our N is what? 100. So then we are having our FC. Our FC is cumulative frequency before the median class frequency. So you realize that the cumulative frequency before the median class frequency. When you look for the median class frequency, we realize this should be 63. The cumulative frequency before this is what? 41. So that means you are going to write 41. Then you have your FM. Your FM is the frequency of the class interval containing the median or frequency of the median class. So now you are going to get your FM, which is the frequency of the class interval containing the median. So that means this is 100, abi. So your FM is going to be what? 100. So now you are now going to substitute the values. So that means you'll be having your Q2 is equal to L, which is what? 40.5 plus N over 20, which is 100 over 2, minus our FC. Our FC is what? 41. So we are now going to substitute here. Our median is equal to 40.5 plus N is 100 over 2 minus 41 over 22. Everything multiplied by 10. So that means we'll be having 40.5 plus 50 minus 41 divided by 22 times 10. 22 is FM. So that means the frequency of the modal class. So now from here, 50 minus 22 will give us 50 minus 41 is 9. Then 9 divided by 22 will give us 4.09. 40.5 minus 4.09. So that means that's going to be 40.5 plus 9 divided by 22 times 10. That will give us 4.05. 40.5 plus 4.05 will give us 44.59. 44.59. Secondly, the B part of the question says you look for the semi-interquartile range. Semi-interquartile range. Semi-interquartile range is equal to Q3, which is the third quarter minus the first quarter divided by 2. So it means we need to get the value for the third quarter and the first quarter to be able to do this. So the formula, according to what I gave you earlier, for the third quarter is L plus 3N over 4 minus FC over FM, everything multiplied by C. So now we need to get our L. The L says that, what is the definition of the L in the median? So the L is equal to lower boundary of the class containing the first quarter. Lower boundary, no, we want to get the third quarter first. So L there means lower boundary of the class containing the third quarter. Lower boundary of the class containing the third quarter. So to be able to know where the third quarter is, you need to use this 3N over 4. So that is 3N. When your N is what? 100. The total frequency. 3 times 100 divided by 4, which will give us 75. So also you need to know the value for your N. So to get the lower class boundary of the class containing the third quarter. So you are now going to come back to the table. You are going to use the table now to be able to decide which one you are going to pick. So now you will now look for the cumulative frequency. Where will you get 75? So 63 is not up to 75. 82 is more than 75. So that means 75 will be in this group. So the lower class boundary of this group is now 50.5. So that is what we now write for your L, 50.5. Then the FC. The FC then means cumulative frequency before the third quarter. So the cumulative, so you realize that the third quarter frequency is what? 82, abi. when you look at their cumulative frequency. So the cumulative frequency before this is what? 63. So that means our FC is 63. Then our FM is our FM is frequency of the class containing the third quarter. So when you look at this, the frequency of the class containing this quarter is what? 19. So that means you are having what? Your FM is 19. Then to get the C, the class width of the class containing the third quarter. So since this is the third quarter, so the third quarter should be here. The class width will not be what? 60.5 minus 50.5. So 60.5 minus 50.5 give us 10. So you now substitute these values into the formula. Q3 is equal to L is 50.5 plus then 75 minus 63 over 19 times 10. So we having 50.5 plus 75 minus 63 will give us 12 divided by 19 times 10. So 50.5 plus 12 divided by 19 times 10 will give us 6.32. When you add the two, you are going to get 56.32. After getting the third quarter, so you realize that we got our third quarter to be 56.82. After getting the third quarter, we need to get the first quarter also. So for the first quarter, that is L plus N over 4 minus FC over FM times C. So we need to get the first quarter position also. So that means that's when you use N over 4. That is 100, N is what? 100 divided by 4, which will give us 25. You will now come to the table again. Where are you going to get 25 in the cumulative frequency? This is 10, 24. So that means 25 is going to be inside this. So our 25 should be here. So to now get the L day, the lower boundary of the class containing the first quarter. So this 40 you are going to get it here. So the lower boundary here is 30.5. So our L here is 30.5. Also our FC is the cumulative frequency before the first quarter. So the cumulative frequency before this 45 is 24. So our FC is 24. FM is the frequency of the first quarter. So this is this where the class of the first quarter, the frequency here is 17. Then our C is what? The class width, which is what? 40.5 minus 30.5, which is 10. So from there you now substitute the value. Our first quarter is equal to 30. L is what? 30.5 plus N over 4 is 25 minus FC is 24 over FM is 70 times 10. So you're having 30.5 plus 25 minus 24 will give us 1 over 17 times 10. 1 divided by 17 times 10 is going to give us 0.59. So when you now add this to 30.5, you get 31.09. So to now get the semi-interquartile range, you write the third quarter minus the first quarter divided by 2. Our third quarter is 56.82. Our first quarter is 31.09. Subtract it and divide it by 2. When you subtract it, you get 25.73 divided by 2, which is 12.865. 12.865. So we are moving further. The C part of the question says we should look for the 68th percentile. 68th percentile. To get the 68th percentile, we are going to say L plus 60 N over 100 minus FC over FM times C. So this percentile, it depends on what you are looking for. If they tell you 88th percentile, so that means the value here should be 80n/100. If you are told to do 10th percentile, that means the value here should be 10n/100. So depending on the what you are told to look for. So now we are now going to look for our L. Our L here for this 68th percentile, you need to first of all get the position for the 68th percentile. To get the position there, you are going to use this 60n/100. 60n/100, which is our n is 100. When it's 60 times 100/100 will give us 60. You will now come to the cumulative frequency. Where are you going to see 60? You realize that you see it in this 61. 60 is more than 41. You now come here. So that means this is the class for the 68th percentile, because according to the definition for the 68th percentile, our L there is the lower class boundary of the class containing the 68th percentile. So to get our L here, so the lower class boundary of this one is 40.5. 40.5. So our L there is 40.5. Then we need to know our FC. Our FC is the cumulative frequency before the 68th percentile class. So the cumulative frequency before this 68th percentile class is 41. So you write 41. Then FM is the frequency of the 68th percentile class. So that means the frequency of this one is what? 22. So that's 22. Then the class width here is what? That is 50.5 minus 40.5, which will give us 10. So from there, you are going to substitute into the formula for the 68th percentile. That is 40.5 plus then 68th percentile, which is for 60 minus 41. FC is 41 over FM is 22 times 10. So 60 minus 41 will give us 19 over 22 times 10. 19 divided by 22 times 10 is 8.64. When you add it to 40.5, you are going to get 49.14. Now let's to the last part, the fourth decile. To get the fourth decile, that is L plus 4n/10 minus FC over FM times C. When you talk of decile, the division of 10, so that is why you are having 4n/10. It can be third decile. If it is third decile, it will be 3n/10. If it is second decile, 2n/10. If it is ninth decile, it will be 9n/10. So depending on the type of decile you are told to look for. So now, first of all, you need to get the position of the fourth decile. It will be 4n/10. So which is 4 times 100/10, which is 40. You are now going to come to this table to get the lower class boundary of that 40. So realize that this 24 come to the cumulative frequency. 24 is more than 20. Is more than 40. Sorry, it's not up to 40. So that means you are going to pick this. So 40 should be in here. So this is the class range for the fourth decile. So now you are now going to look for the lower class boundary of the, which is 30.5. So that one is 30.5. Then you are now going to get your FC. Your FC will be what? The cumulative frequency before this class. The cumulative frequency before this one is 24. So your FC is 24. Then your FM, the frequency of the fourth decile class. The frequency here is 17. Then your C is what? That is 40.5 minus 30.5 give us 10. That is the class width. You are now going to substitute. So to substitute, you say fourth decile will now be equal to your L, which is what? 30.5 plus the 4n/10 is what? 40 minus FC is 24 over FM is 17 times C is 10. So from here, you are going to have 30.5 plus 40 minus 24 is 16 over 17 times 10. 16 over 17 times 10 will give us 9.41. Add it to 40, 30.5, you get 39.91. So for the work practice, if they are having the class, this table 1 to 5 15, 6 to 10 we have 17, 11 to 15 we having 10, 16 to 26, 21 to 25 2. Use the frequency distribution table above to calculate the following by formula: the median, the semi-interquartile range, the 88th percentile, the 8th decile. Then number two, the following are the marks in percentages of 40 candidates in an examination. So we having 12, 17, 16, 38, 14, 12, 48, 37, 12, 15, 36, 46, 28, 64, 24, 27, 26, 36, 15, 52, 38, 39, 47, 36, 15, 57, 39, 29, 42, 28, 6, 5, 45, 44, 29, 58, 23, 36, 28, 82. A. Draw a frequency distribution table using equal intervals of 5 to 14, 15 to 24, till 25, 75 to 84. B. Using formula method, calculate the median, semi-interquartile range, the 7th percentile, the 6th decile. Then number 3, a sample of 180 books was selected from a school library. The following table shows the number of times the books were borrowed from the academic year 1979 to 1980. So look at this. The number of times we have 1 to 5 times 9, 6 to 10, 20, 11 to 15, 32, 16 to 20, 42, 21 to 25, 35, 26 to 30, 22, 31 to 35, 15, 36 to 45. Use an assumed mean of 23 to calculate the mean. B. Using formula method, calculate the mode, the median, the semi-interquartile range, the 88th percentile, and the 3rd decile. Thank you.